In this video, we're gonna focus on one country, and that is Singapore. Obviously, because they are the richest country in Asia, and it is just an island with not much resources like oil and gas. So I am curious to see what the driving force was behind this movement of Singapore to become one of the wealthiest countries in the world. I am Anthony Diego. Come along with me and let us start digging in this unique financial history of this country. Singapore used to have nothing. Singapore was a British colony for 144 years, apart from a period of occupation under the Japanese Empire from 1942 to 1945 during the Pacific War. Back in the day, Singapore had one of the world's worst slums, according to a 1947 British Colonial Government Housing Committee report. They also didn't have the luxury of any significant natural resources such as oil, coal, or gas. And on top of that, Singapore is simply a small plot of land that measures 50 kilometers from east to west and 27 kilometers from north to south. The turning point. One can say that the turning point was when the country became an independent nation in 1965 with Lee Kuan Yew as the Prime Minister. Here are the 5 main reasons why this country is so successful. 1. Having a strong pragmatic leadership. He set up anti-corruption legislation and linked the salaries of those running the government to top professionals in the private sector. This enabled the government to attract and retain competent people. Practically speaking, when government leaders are well paid and their performance is linked to socio-economic outcomes, they are more inclined to focus on building the country and less on earning money through corrupted ways. And now we have come to reason number 2, capitalizing on a strategically located port. While Singapore doesn't have natural resources or much land, it does have a competitive advantage, and that is its port, which is strategically located on the world map. The government fully maximizes the use of its port to grow its GDP. It participates in entrepot trade, where goods are imported into a country and then re-exported out without being distributed within the importing country. Singapore is importing national resources or partially manufactured goods regionally and globally, refining them and then re-exporting them out again. This can be seen in the wafer fabrication and oil refining industries. With competition arising regionally, the government plans to fortify the port's leadership position, which will uplift other sectors as well. And now we go to the third reason. That is opening the country to attract foreign investments from multinational corporations or companies. Tax incentives, ease of setting up businesses, corruption-free government, politically stable environment. The government has invested heavily in education so that Singaporeans are well equipped to handle complex roles. English was also made the default language in Singapore, enabling its people to communicate with others on a global scale. Plus, the government has enabled companies to hire foreign professionals. This has closed the gap of supply and skill shortages so that Singapore continues to be attractive to global companies. These factors, amongst others, have helped to increase overall GDP and allow the economy to grow without any natural resources. And now we are at reason number 4, careful budgeting and spending. When the economy grows, the operating revenue that the government receives typically increases too. The bulk comes from corporate and income tax. The government budgets its money annually, so it can be maximized to build the nation further, such as building schools and healthcare facilities and on development. In the 1970s and 80s, the government had to borrow money to build infrastructures. Infrastructures like heavy rail or metro and the Changi airport. But since the 1990s, it has been able to tap on budget surpluses for infrastructure projects. And now we have come to reason number 5. That is forward thinking about building strong reserves. By investing the country's surpluses and assets from the sale of land and so forth, it is able to build a sizable sum. The 3 organizations that manage the reserves, that is the MAS, the Temasek, and the GIC, they all 3 collectively hold at least $777 billion in assets, and I'm talking about US dollars. They have 3 objectives, which are 1. To act as an emergency fund, 2. Protect the Singapore dollar, and 3. Provide a continuous stream of income. The investment returns from the reserves help to ensure that Singapore constantly has a budget surplus, while still being able to build the reserves further. This will help the current generation and the future generations to come. One key factor for Singapore's success is good leadership. The late President Lee Kuan Yew has played a key role in helping shape the economy and provided prosperity for the country and the people living in it. It is stated that he followed one mantra in life, and that was figure out what works and do it. If this video was of some value for you, go ahead and tap that like button, share it with someone who needs to see it. Once again, if you agree or disagree with any of these points that I have discussed, let me know down below. Hope you enjoyed it, and again, tap that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification, and we'll see you in the next video.